This edition of Mac Voices is sponsored by Linode, high-performance cloud hosting for everyone. Visit linode.com/macvoices and take $20 off your first server package. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. This is the second part of our experiment with Mac Voices Live, taking that show and splitting it into and bringing it to you on the regular Mac Voices feeds. If you like this idea, great. If you don't, that's fine too. Let me know either way, chuck@macvoices.com. And again, I will invite you to come Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, and be part of the show if you want. You can find out more on the Mac Voices group on Facebook or by subscribing to the Mac Voices Dispatch newsletter. So we're back to our discussion with David and Frank.
That's the other thing. Now I'm curious what you guys think are going to is going to be how people are going to work with technology once we get through this, because people have come up with different patterns that are now usual. Like we're doing Zoom now and all that stuff. I'm just wondering, and then a lot more people are working at home. And what was that? I think Facebook and some other companies, I think Staples or somebody said they're going to do a lot of that now. They're going to give you the choice. And I'm wondering from here on out, what do you guys think is, how are we going to approach what we do now? I mean, how different is it going to be from pre-COVID?
You're muted.
Sorry, David, I'll let you go.
Well, I mean, yeah, working in the enterprise and seeing what's happened. I won't get specifics, but there's plenty of companies out there that have had resistance to having remote workers. They had one of them to work from home. They didn't think they could do it. Well, believe me, this is a big eye opener. I mean, I think a lot of these companies are now wide open and seeing how, wow, everybody's pretty productive and working from home and having everything they can get done. I mean, I'm relatively productive when I work from home. I mean, I'm doing my job and have no issues with it. The only thing I think really what's going to be missed is just the opportunity of being able to see the social people. I do miss a lot of the users that I support. I do miss them, quite a bit, and like being in the office and having that feel. I mean, for what I do. So yeah, it's definitely I like.
Well, that's something weird I've noticed with humans, like around here, and I don't know how you guys have experienced it, but I'll say a good 80 to 90% of the people around here in South Jersey have become so different as human beings. I mean, they've become so polite, so helpful, so courteous.
Is that Jersey or?
Yeah, well, in Jersey, we got a rep. But, I'm sorry, Chuck, I cut you off.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think David's spot on. I'm observing people that are very content and very productive at home, and I'm seeing people that it's driving them out of their minds. Yeah. And so do I miss my coworkers? Yes, of course. I always enjoy seeing them. That said, though, it's not driving me out of my mind. I mean, because it feels to me, I guess I get enough socialization through the screens and through video conferences and that whenever there's one needed, that I feel like it's fine. I think some organizations are intentionally trying to make things just a little more social, maybe in meetings, to alleviate some of that isolated feeling. I think we're seeing a big change here. We did a Mac Voices table discussion last week, I guess, about some of this. Just how much stuff is going to carry over, and what experiments have happened out of necessity that might have happened, maybe would never have happened, or at the very least would have taken a lot longer than they did.
Well, it was great, I think, because it's taken away the argument, like you were saying, of working at home, like you guys were saying. I know lots of, well, I shouldn't say lots, but people that were running businesses and stuff that just didn't trust their employees enough to figure they'd get stuff done. And I'm looking at it, to me, it's like if you watch the late night talk shows now, they always have their families around them. And I'm like, this could really not only be good for the workers, because the workers are going to, I think, be more relaxed, usually in a home environment or in there where they're comfortable. But I think they're also going to have, you're going to have sort of like tighter families, because instead of lunch going out and hanging out with, your coworkers, which is nice, don't get me wrong. But like in the traditional atomic family, fathers don't get to see their kids that much, except maybe at night. And then when they come home at night, if they haven't been held over at work, they're doing some late night email stuff. So they really don't get to interact with their families as much. And I'm thinking that this could also be part of an impact from using the technology this way.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it's funny you bring that up, because thinking back, especially early in my career, I felt like I learned as much or more going to lunch with coworkers, with senior coworkers, than I did, in whatever formal trainings there were. And as a result, that was something that was invaluable. Now, that was a particular profession and a particular circumstance. But I definitely think that is something that, we talk so much about it, like with Mac stock, that there's the main stage, there's the secondary stage, and then there's the hallway track,
right.
And sometimes the hallway track ends up being the most valuable thing.
All. I talk to Jeff all the time when I'm up there. Yeah. I'm like, can I do this or text expander, or I ask Dave something,
Yeah. So, I don't have a good answer. I don't know what the right answer is. I don't think the right answer is necessarily everybody go right back to the way it was.
Right.
But I'm not sure the answer also is that, okay, everybody hunker down in there, to use Ken Ray's term. Hunker down at home.
Yeah. There was an interesting thing. I saw an interview on the news with a woman who had survived. I forget how old she was during World War II. And they said, well, you've seen this, you've seen Nam and all this stuff. And she goes, the reporter asked, they said, you think we're going to be going back to normal? She goes, I got news for you. She goes, after World War II, we didn't go back to normal. You end up changing the way you do things. So the way we did things before World War II is not the way we did things after World War II. Although to us, what became a different normal to them, a new normal, to us is normal. Sure. But now we've got a new normal coming.
Sure.
Yeah. And I just found that very interesting.
Yeah.
And I was thinking another piece of the industry, we Chuck and I and all of us are both here working in business. And I also look on the end of it for education, with having a spouse that's a school teacher. How are they going to handle these things? They've got a lot of technologies that they use. Most of them are Google G Suite and Google Meet, and they are starting to dabble in Zoom. But boy, it was just immensely interesting to see how the technology was being adapted for that industry, and trying to get these younger kids. I mean, even any kids for that matter, to keep them focused and what there is for learning, and being able to keep the focus, because obviously there's going to be some challenges with going back to these schools, because us as adults, we have no problems that we can keep our social distance and stuff. Imagine a 5 to 8 year old child, and how close they want to be to the teacher and all that. But I mean, that's not a technology discussion, but I just was thinking on the spin of just the technology in itself. How are these schools going to be able to leverage all of that technology and make it work efficiently as well as effectively?
And it feels like, okay, so there are a couple aspects to that. First of all, the teachers themselves. I mean, some teachers, and I got to be real careful here because I don't want to criticize anybody, but some have said, well, I can't possibly do my job this way. And they just kind of throw up their hands. And others get creative. And I'm embarrassed. I forget which show we did, but somebody said that, the teacher went to her school, took a picture of her classroom, and then used that as her background
that's
in Zoom.
cool.
Yeah, to make the students understand that, I mean, you're not fooling the students, but there's that mentality.
Yeah.
They've got that. So I think that's going to be the first thing. But you know what? That was the same thing I watched happen, and I'm sure you guys did too. When computers started to land on people's desks, there were people that I deeply respected that said, I can't handle this, and they retired, and they retired early. Because they literally, I mean, they were going to have a nervous breakdown, and so they just got out. And I wonder if we're not going to see some of that going forward.
I've heard a few.
Oh, really?
A few teachers that are retiring because they're just not had enough.
Well, there was I think there was it's kind of weird. We're going over a hump where there's a big reticence, I think, from the old guard of learning technology. Whereas your students now, well, last two generations, technology is in their DNA.
Yeah.
This is how you live.
Right.
So it's that weird thing of new normal. Well, for them, it's, for the kids, it's normal. That's life. That's the way life always was. I imagine the same thing was with TV, going from radio to TV. A generation went, no, what do you mean pictures? What do you want to watch pictures for? You have no imagination. You don't use your imagination that way,
Well, and think about, I mean, because we're all of an age group that, when VCRs came along, it was a standing joke among a certain age group that, I can't figure out how to program the darn thing, so my clock just blinks, 12 all the time.
Yeah. Oh my God, they used to drive me crazy.
Yeah, well, and listen, I mean, you feel bad for them because there was a generation that had no frame of reference when it came to picking up. I don't have a mouse. I use a trackpad, but picking up a mouse or trying to understand moving the mouse on the desktop and having something happen up on the screen.
Right.
That just they just didn't have the frame of reference.
Well,
we picked it up.
Coordination either.
Yeah, and for us, it was completely natural.
Yeah.
So, and I think you're seeing that too, because now, again, we're in a certain age group and TikTok doesn't make a lot of sense to us.
Yeah.
Snapchat barely.
Yeah, Snapchat either.
Yeah, but I've been watching Gary Vee a lot during this time. Yeah. And you watch him, Dave?
No, I know.
His proselytizing of using TikTok and social media and stuff. I'm reading some of his books. He's actually, I just started reading a book. He inspired me. I was reading a book on Stoics and Stoicism. And that's basically what he's preaching, but in the new technology age. Right. And it's really interesting.
Oh, Gary, I love some of Gary's stuff. I mean, sometimes Gary can go off the deep end, but that's Gary.
Well, yeah, he likes the Jets. How can you trust somebody that likes the Jets?
Well, we're not going to go down that path. Oh God, I'll get emails. But you have somebody like that who is a forward thinker, and a forward thinker like that, he's not going to always be spot on. Nobody is. But some of the things that I've listened, I've been a fan of his since I saw him at Blog World quite some time ago do the keynote. And you look at it and it's like, he's hit a lot of things. Even some of his older books are well worth the read.
Well, it's funny that spot on reference you make. He says in some of his things, he says the best thing you can do is just hug fear and love it. You screw it up, doesn't work, so what?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting because I'm reading right now his jab, 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 hook, right hook.
Jab, yeah, something like that. Yeah,
yeah.
Because I know I've read Crush It. I've read everything that he's done, and yeah, there really is. And I mean, he is a content monster.
Oh God, yeah.
So if folks, if you're not paying attention or don't know about this, we're talking about, he calls himself Gary Vaynerchuk. And you can find him on Instagram. You can find him just about anywhere because he is so prolific.
YouTube channel and all that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and now to be fair, he does tend toward the profane. I think to make his point. But so if that bothers you, then you just if you have tender ears, be careful. But other than that,
he's the king of F-bombs.
Yeah, but it's that's the way he talks. That's the way he makes the impression.
He's a Jersey guy.
Well, yeah, that'll do it. There you go. There you go.
I was just thinking about when they had that fated short-lived series, Planet of the Apps, and he was on there as one of the app the app guys or one of the
I never even saw that.
Yeah,
what was that?
I'm sure it's still on there. Yeah, I was watching it with.
It's on Apple TV.
Is it?
Still, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I heard of it, but I didn't know
one of the celebrities that would help a aspiring app developer get their app in the on Apple's App Store.
I just bought a bottle of wine from his father's store. He's always talking about wine text. I had that delivered. I said, yeah.
Oh yeah, if you go back, you can find some of his appearances on Conan O'Brien. When he was primarily the wine TV guy. Yeah, it's really interesting to watch how he has developed and what he's done for himself. This edition of Mac Voices is brought to you by Linode, your solution when you need a virtual server in the cloud. Use the code MacVoices to take $20 off your first purchase at linode.com/MacVoices. Whatever you're looking to do online, you can build it on Linode. But not just build it. Provision, secure, monitor, and back it up too. Linode is a full-service hosting operation with 10 data centers worldwide, including the latest in Toronto and Mumbai. And Linode isn't just a hosting operation. They are a world-class hosting operation with SSD storage, a 40 gigabit network, and industry-leading processors powering their servers. If you know what you want, you can dig right in. Or you can let Linode do the setup for you with their easy one-click installs of a variety of servers. Find out what Linode can do for you by visiting linode.com/MacVoices and using the offer code MacVoices to get $20 off your first purchase. That's linode.com/MacVoices and the code MacVoices to take $20 off your first server. It won't be your last. Thanks to Linode for their support of MacVoices. So I wanted to go back, though, to one thing that I think Frank brought up, and David, I wanted you to comment on. An iMac redesign. I mean, first of all, do we need an iMac redesign now if we're going to ARM? And by the way, everything I've seen says that ARM probably won't hit until 2021 because they want to make sure they give the developers plenty of time, just like with other transitions, plenty of time to prepare their apps. But does it make sense to do an iMac redesign right now, or does it make sense to do it now and then just make the transition over to ARM without having a new box around it?
Yeah, and that was the thing I kind of hit on is how is that going to happen if they're going to switch to ARM processors? How are the older you have like a Microsoft with Office, now you're going to make developers design a version for ARM, a version for Intel. I mean, is it going to be? Will they be able to coexist? I don't know. I mean, developers have to do that. But as far as hardware goes, my opinion, I think they should wait. I just don't see it. I mean, what's the last time that they released iMac? Has it been 3 years at least?
That was the last upgrade, I think.
Okay, so they're overdue. I mean, that is for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything with ports like you mentioned, Frank. I think they want to keep it slim, and they're going to keep the ports in the back. Just the aesthetics and design, I just don't see that changing. But it's very possible. I mean, stranger things have happened at Dub.
But Johnny's gone. Johnny's gone. We don't have to worry about where the ports are.
Yeah, that's true. But I'd be interested to see where they would put them because it's already very thin as it is anyway.
True too.
That's what I think. I think they're going to probably end up holding off. But
I mean, I think we'll speed. I think that somewhere between now and then we're going to have to see some kind of speed bump or upgrade to the current iMacs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think the cry is too big and it's been too long since that happened. But a full redesign, well, we'll see. I don't know. I mean,
I could see.
Yeah, and I can make arguments for it both ways. That let's not wait on the design because otherwise it's only the chipsets that are going to change. Because certainly, it's not like it's going to obsolete USB-C or Thunderbolt or any of the others.
Yeah.
So it may be a way to kind of carry people over. I'm anxious to see what kind of performance, because that's the other thing that I'm reading, that but. And I did want to touch on this before we close, but the one thing that I looked at what happened to the stock price, and I feel like, okay, if Apple's going to ARM, they're going to their own chips, and that means Apple is in even more control of their own destiny.
Yep.
They don't have to worry about what Intel's doing or some other chip manufacturer. They are going to be able to produce their own on their schedule and do what they want with them, as opposed to what Intel might do for some other platforms. They can include just exactly what they want, and I think that's especially true especially important, from a security standpoint.
Yeah, who'd have thought? I mean, Apple's always been dependent on a third-party manufacturer of the chips. Now they can really control their own destiny with their own chips, and probably get release products quicker because it's in their hands.
I keep thinking, I'm wondering, you remember when they switched over to Intel? Jobs came out on stage and says, we had been running OS 10 on Intel for 5 years to make sure this was work. And I was reading that, they had gotten rid of the MacBook 12-inch. And one of the rumors was saying they think that's coming back. And that would be the ARM one. And I'm wondering if there isn't an area where they're doing the same thing with ARM processors in a Mac that they did doing OS 10 on Intel chips, that they've been secretly doing something for 4 or 5 years. And either this year or next year, they're just going to go, hey, guess what? And then it'll be like the slow transition, like from PowerPC over to Intel and stuff.
I don't know. I mean, listen, back then, they would have been crazy not to have OS or Mac OS running on Intel.
Yeah.
Because they were beholden to only Motorola, and Intel clearly was, the one of the big dogs then, and sort of the same thing now. I think it just makes sense that now, if they can take even more control of their destiny, they don't have to worry about
what
Intel does. So they have that advantage. They have the advantage of being able to design the chips they want, have total control over them. I mean, it just and that's I am not a stock analyst, but personally, I think that's the thing that made the stock jump the way it did, because now Apple's not dependent, will not be going forward dependent on anyone.
True.
Showing more value.
Plus, they can make everything so seamless. As the engineers and the software developers within Apple make sure that everything just seamlessly integrates. Theoretically, I mean, they still end up with their missteps, but
well, sure.
I think it would give them a big head start on stuff. And if they could come up with a nice API like Catalyst, where people would have developers wouldn't have any real heavy duty difficulty switching to ARM processors within the Mac, might not be a bad thing.
Well, I mean, remember, we had fat apps for a while that
3264s.
Yeah. So Apple has managed a number of these transitions quite successfully.
True.
And so, and something I don't know anybody that has the engineering expertise to know just what is involved in translating an app that runs on an Intel chip to an ARM chip.
Yeah.
That'll be a topic of discussion at some point in the future when we have somebody that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, but they've sort of dipped their toes in the water when you look at the aspect that they take the whole iWork package, and that's all running on ARM now for what, 2 years? So it's not like they're going in blind. I mean, this is not new territory. They might have, I'm sure they're going to have to do some little tweaking, but I think they sort of know where the path is going to lead them.
Yeah. What did you say, David?
I said it's iOS versus Mac OS. So you know they're different operating systems, and that's the other thing we could think of too is once both are on ARM, could there be one operating system? I mean, that's been discussed. You know.
Oh Lord, let's not bring that. Let's not get that started again, because that becomes an emotional issue for a lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah, but does that become
keep it separate? But
yeah, but I'm wondering, is that an emotional issue for our guard, or is it as much an issue for the new guard of people that are using equipment?
You know, that's a very fair question.
It's again the radio TV analysis.
Well, radio, each one has certain advantages, and the same thing here. I personally, I have no desire to reach up and touch my screen. Some people, it seems like, do.
Oh, I don't either.
And yeah, well, but see, there we go. You know, in our age group.
But
I'm not sure about the kids. I don't because they. I mean, you hear stories all the time about how, you know, some little 6-year-old will go into a big box store and reach up and try to touch this TV screen because that's what they think they should be doing.
Yeah. Well, I'm still amazed by the fact that there's apps out there for cats. You've seen those for iPad, right? And I'm thinking, wait a minute, we've got a piece of technology that crosses species. It's such a bizarre concept, you know.
I think we're going to end it right there.
There's your cue, Chuck.
Yeah, we have apps that cross species. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's my job.
Yeah, before we go, I want to make sure folks know where they can find both of you two characters. David?
You can find me at In Touch with iOS, intouchwithios.com. It's my podcast. Go and check me out there. And Dave G65 is Twitter.
Great. Thanks for stopping by. This is fun.
Thanks.
Frank, when they let you out of the asylum, where can folks find you?
Usually on the corner with a tin cup and a bottle. But no, I can be found at ymp.now. ympnow.com. I also write an article every month for Screencast Online. And I pop up occasionally in strange places, you know, on other people's websites and stuff.
Yeah, great. Hey, thanks so much for being here, Frank. I'm glad to have you as part of the group.
Yeah.
Thanks for the request. I was looking forward to this so much.
Good.
Yeah, glad you made it.
And folks, you know, we're starting to do this every Tuesday night now. So, you know, come on over and join us. As you can see, it doesn't hurt. And it's just a sort of a roundtable discussion. We'll bring a couple topics and then go from there. So come on over.
And bring a pizza.
Yeah, not a bad idea. So until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. This has been Mac Voices Live. We will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.